All right, so we'll call the meeting to order at 7:02. Um, is there a motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting, August 14th?
I didn't see them online. Did
Oh,
everyone?
really? I
Yeah.
did. Yeah, I got
Okay.
them. But
I'll motion to approve the minutes
okay,
with
is there a
Yeah.
second? Is there any discussion or comments? Yes, Sharon.
Yep, I just have, I want to make note just of an update that needs to be done. Page 3, under reporting on farmers market tabling. Just add an L before the GBTQ, so LGBTQ. And then only the second change is page 4 under new business, just spelling my name BAANANTE. And that's all I have for changes.
In the on the second one, you're talking about the second reference to your in the second to the last line of that paragraph.
Yes, the first paragraph
Okay.
under new business.
Okay. Any other comments or changes? Okay. I just want to thank Telesco for spelling my name correctly. um, okay, so may I have a motion to approve the minutes with the 2 changes noted by Sharon?
Sorry, I actually have one comment. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
I believe I had some comments about, I mean, I don't know if this matters, but about I was part of the conversation about the farmers market tabling and talking about the Sono South Norwalk Farmers Market, but I'm not actually mentioned anywhere in the notes other than attendance, so my name could be added there if we're like looking at the recording as well. So I just wanted to note that.
Yeah, thanks. And I do remember you talking about that. I mean, I think sometimes it might just be hard for for them to catch who's saying what
Yeah.
when.
Mhm.
So I do try to kind of acknowledge, like name people but yeah, we can, but yes, if that could be added, I do remember you talking about that about the Sono Farmers Market. So thanks,
Yeah,
Sarah.
it's minor. I don't mind. I just didn't know for keeping if it's important.
Yeah, good, thanks. Okay, so with those changes from Sarah and Sharon, is there a motion to approve the minutes with those changes?
So moved.
Thanks, Christina, and second, Ashley. Great, thank you. Okay, so our next item is public comment, if there's anyone who's waiting.
No, I don't see anyone waiting.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Claudia. I was trying to unmute myself. I just want to abstain because I wasn't on the meeting for the minutes.
Oh, actually, I didn't even take a vote on it. I'm sorry. I had the motion. Let's go back. Okay, so we had the okay, so someone made the motion. Ashley, you seconded it. I'm sorry, cannot remember who made the motion. So let's vote on the motion with the changes from Sarah and Sharon. All in favor of accepting the minutes from August 14th with those changes, please raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so I see Claudia, Sharon, Christina, Sarah, and Ashley all voting in favor. Any opposed? And any abstentions?
Shannon, yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so no public, still no one for public comment, Michelle. Okay.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Thank you. All right. So for under new business, Robert Stowers, the Director of Recreation and Parks, was going to join us and then let Michelle know that he was unable to, he's out of town, I think he said, but wrote a memo to the commission addressing some of the questions that had been shared with him. So I don't know if folks have had a chance to read that. I know Michelle sent it out earlier today, but I don't know if everyone had a chance to read it. Or Michelle, go ahead.
Claudia, I was gonna go over, thank you for sharing that update. I was gonna go over some highlights from Robert's memo and some next steps, and then open it up to questions for folks.
Perfect. Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So as Claudia said, the Director of Recreation and Parks, sorry about my dog. He was supposed to meet with you all today and answer some questions about the Recreation and Parks Master Plan. And he answered some of them via email, but he also is completely open to coming to the next meeting to answer questions. But one of the key takeaways is that he wants to work with the commission to get your input. So there's opportunity also for small group meetings for anyone who might be interested. But just to go over the timeline for where the master plan is. So beginning in June, Robert in the memo had talked about over the past year how all the public input that they received and all the different ways they got that public input. And he also shared that beginning in June, the draft of the master plan was put online for more public feedback and comment through a public hearing. And that after that point, Recreation and Parks Committee within the Common Council passed the plan. So right now it's scheduled to be on the Common Council's agenda for September 26th for them to adopt if they so choose. So, but regardless of that timeline, Robert still would like to make sure that the Women's Commission is part of the implementation process. So there's still, as he put it, just a lot of opportunity for input. So a small group or him coming to the next meeting, at either point, folks can give input. The master plan also lives on our website. I can send it to everyone so that they can take a look. But some of the items that he highlighted, one was just, some of the overall goals, which was basically to make sure that the city of Norwalk offers enhanced physical, intellectual, social, and cultural growth and development opportunities that ensure accessibility and equity for all. He also talked about how he's been working closely with the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Office to make sure that all the services and capital improvements and maintenance of our parks include equity and have someone focus on making sure that they've been included in the master plan. And then he also mentioned how they can tell based on the demographics of all the input from the public that over 50% of the respondents have been female. So just so you know that a lot of females have contributed to this process. What else did he say? Again, he invites the commission to be part of the implementation process. And one thing that he highlighted that I thought you might be interested in is how the Recreation and Parks Department has started to address some of the needs for expanding girls' sports in Norwalk. And they're writing a new policy that allows private leagues, which many of the girls' leagues are select teams. In the past, they were barred with an antiquated view that only nonprofit leagues could play on our fields and gyms, but that's changed. And he also noted that he's writing a joint use agreement with the schools to expand female basketball, volleyball, and female adult recreation, exercise, and dance classes. So he said he would love your help in that process as well. So those were the highlights. If anyone else wanted to highlight anything that I missed that they thought was important, please feel free. But otherwise, I'd love to hear about how you guys think what next steps might be best for the commission. Go for it, Sharon.
Yeah, I really appreciated his very lengthy letter. It's great. One of the things I want to point out is that he says in the master plan that, sorry, this is so small. It's on my iPhone right now. He'll provide equitable distribution of maintenance resources and labor, giving each areas the attention that is needed. Obviously we talked about that before. I'm just trying to think. There's a couple really other good things in here. But one of the things that I love everything here, but one of the things that I feel very strongly about is data. And the surveys went out and parents, mostly moms, responded, but there's no way of knowing if your child was a boy or if your child was a girl, right? What I really want the city to do, and I think it's really important because you can't tell where you're going if you don't know where you are. So how many things like the number of girls programs versus the number of boys programs, the spend per girl, per boy. What does that spend look like, right? The number of hours of instructions for girls versus boys. I encountered that with my daughter with basketball. The boys had, they had 2 practices in a game. My daughter only had 1 practice, right? Number of field hours, which actually he said he was going to increase to make sure that it was equitable with girls versus boys. And so for me, it's really data. And I know you have the surveys, but what can he find internally and through his vendors to come up with that data, not through the survey? This is like separate. Does that make sense?
Of course. Yep. We can definitely ask him those questions.
Yeah, and I know he wants to do a committee as well. And so I don't know if at some point we want to have somebody from our commission on, to help out with the committee that he puts together.
Somebody is at my door. I'm so sorry. I have to go. I'm the only one home. I'll be right back.
No
Okay.
worries. And
That's
thanks
it.
for bringing that up, Sharon, because I think it's an advisory committee to
Mhm.
help implement this plan. So that's a really great
Yeah.
point. And I think we could ask, I'm not super familiar with the advisory committee, but I think it's a good question for him.
Yeah. But but overall, I want to, kudos to Robert for even like hanging in, meeting with us, writing this huge memo. He's obviously wants to get this in, but I want to make sure it's like somewhere in writing also like in there. So I don't know if we need to look at the master plan again. I'm not sure.
Just based on what you've shared quickly, if you wouldn't mind, and then we could go to Christina, writing down those data point questions and maybe the advisory question also. I think that would be great. So we don't lose those good questions. Christina?
Sure.
When you get a chance.
Michelle, thank you for highlighting it. And my apologies, my Wi-Fi has been very glitchy. I think I'm good. I moved to a different part. So one of the things that I think is important that I appreciate that he put in there was the acknowledgement that the times are a bit different and there's a lot more private leagues. But I would like to make sure that the nonprofit and city leagues are still given priority, because you have to pay into the private leagues. And there's a strong conversation in youth sports that equity you lose equity when you go to private leagues. So I would just want to make sure that, and I think it is important we give space to our private leagues, but I do want to make sure that whether it's through this advisory board, or I just want to put it out there so we don't lose track of the thought, that priority be given to town and nonprofit leagues, just to ensure that everybody who wants an opportunity to play in the sport has an opportunity to play in the sport.
So maybe, Christina, we could ask him about a breakdown of how that's distributed in the city, or how it will be based on that new policy plan between private, nonprofit, and city use of fields.
I'll make a note of that. Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else? Feel free to chime in.
All right. My Wi-Fi must be the weather, because I think I heard you say you wanted me to just make down a note and maybe get a look specific to Sharon's point about data around that as well.
Yeah, I think that would be great, so we don't lose that specific question. Okay. In terms of next steps, does anyone have feedback? Do you want to invite Robert to our next meeting? Do you want to have a small group of folks meet with Robert? What do you all think is best?
I think if he could join us, I mean, I was looking forward to, giving him a chance to speak, and he put the time in to do that whole memo and everything. I think it'd be a good use of our time to just hear him out. And talk through some things. I mean, it's very exciting as my daughter gets more involved in the youth sports, like to have a chance to, voice our concerns, and like Sharon said, like make sure everybody's getting the right amount of time and access is very important. So yeah, I think next step would be to invite him to October.
That sounds great. I can definitely do that. Sharon?
Yeah, I agree. I'd love to have him on. He's really great, and I think everyone deserves to hear from him. So,
Perfect.
Yeah, I
Okay.
agree. Would it be possible to share some of the feedback from this meeting with him, Michelle, in advance of the next meeting, and so that he's prepared, is aware of some of the, questions or thoughts that folks have had, and he could maybe come prepared to address those specific things, and then we can just
Definitely.
have it. Yeah, great.
Yeah, we can directly send him all the questions that have been proposed so far.
Great. Good. Excellent. Is he aware of the date of our October meeting or no?
I don't think so, but he said, he would gladly come to the October meeting. So I'll just confirm that it completely, definitely works for him.
Okay.
Yeah, when
Can
he's
I-
back next.
Can I add one more point that I wonder if this is something that maybe should be folded into this plan, but like, do we have any kind of policy for like inclusion of trans athletes in city sports programs? Would this be the time to like maybe have that be a part of this master plan, or am I like out in left field from what this is all about?
I think that's a great question for Robert.
Because yeah,
yeah,
And
that's great.
it would be good to have that in writing, like before it comes up, before we have somebody who's asking about it. It would be good if we have that, written down, that we're going to include trans athletes to play with their gender that they identify with.
I can add it to my notes and copy you in that I'm going to
Okay.
send
Thanks,
to
Sharon.
Michelle and to Claudia.
Thanks. Yeah, I think it's a good question for Norwalk Public Schools if a policy like that exists.
It's on my radar.
Yeah, and maybe I'll add a couple of the other things that we had talked about with the bathrooms and whatnot. So, okay, I'm going to put together some notes.
Thanks for the great questions. Any others?
Oh, Michelle, just for scheduling, our next meeting would be on the 9th, right? Or am I off? Because that's Indigenous
Second.
People Day, so.
No worries. That's a good flag. It's the second Monday in October, so I'm just looking at my calendar.
It is the long weekend. Norwalk Public School kids are off that Monday and Tuesday because
And
there's
Tuesday,
professional development that Tuesday.
So we could send out a survey to move it and see what works best for folks, if that's possible. For another day in October.
Yeah, and just to have him on, City Hall's, I think, closed on that Monday, so just to be conscious of his schedule, to not make him come on the day that he's technically off.
Yeah, thank you. Would the majority of you want to reschedule that date to another date? Probably, right? I'm just seeing head nods.
I'm indifferent. I can make it, but also happy to move it.
Same. I can make it, but happy to move it.
Okay. All right, we'll send something out to see what's best for most folks.
Okay.
Great. Thanks for flagging that, Shannon.
Yeah. Okay, great. So the next item under new business is under the diversification of boards and commissions committee, next steps for potential changes to the commission's name.
I'd be happy to take that on right now, just real quick. When we originally started the commission, the best way to start it was to have it reinstated. That's how we got it up and running so quickly, but we knew that the name wasn't inclusive. And so Ashley did some work trying to come up with a new name, reaching out to different folks from the LGBTQ plus community. I also did that too. And we came up with Commission on Gender Equity. And so what I would offer is to say, if anybody else has other names they want to send us, please do that. And then perhaps at the next meeting, we vote on it. Or any comments on it. I mean, if you want to talk about it publicly, that's fine.
I can add what the next steps would be after that, unless folks have comments. But if you guys vote on a name change, it would go to the ordinance committee among the common council, and they would have to approve it. So, so just one recommended name would go to them, and that would be most helpful.
And they're gonna
And we
have
would
to
just
hold
have
a public hearing on it too, just as part of their procedures.
So
Reach
would
out.
we also submit like a proposal? Obviously not just like, we want to change our name, but we have to have like a whole argument for them to then present in the public hearing, or what's the logistics behind that in terms of if that's the case, do Sharon and Ashley draft it, and then do we need the whole committee to give feedback, or any thoughts?
I think it
I
would
mean,
be.
I don't think it,
Go ahead, Sharon.
oh, sorry. I don't think it would be bad to have something prepared as far as written, but we don't need to plead our case then to why we want to change our name. It's, so they can give like a little bit of a blurb for why they're holding a public hearing, and we can speak to if for some reason somebody comes out to speak, for or against us, that we're just all on the same page on our wording. But no, we don't owe them an explanation of why we want to change our name.
Thank you, that's really helpful.
I would
I have a-
hope it'll be straight. I would hope they would figure out pretty quickly, like, oh, this is more inclusive, but
Yeah, and like I said, for the public hearing, it's just their procedure, so don't think it's like not gonna go through or anything. That's just how they have to operate as a committee.
And is there any, like, at the public hearing, I mean, it may be worthwhile, even if we don't have to submit a written rationale, that there is some talking points about what our discussion was and why we came up, in case there's like questions and, questions about it. But I don't know
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
format, like you said. Yeah, so.
Yeah, and the public hearing is just a formality, but yeah, absolutely, because they'll have, on the record minutes and all that kind of stuff too, just so that we say why we're here, and yeah, that we did our homework as to why we feel it should change, but it can be very informal and just like kind of bullet point
Okay.
talking points.
Great. That's helpful. Thanks, Shannon.
No problem.
So just to say that Michelle and Ashley and I got together and Michelle brought some names from other similar commissions elsewhere. And we felt, I mean, there were a number of them, and Michelle, you could share those if you have them handy, but we basically, and then reached out to Sharon, because Sharon had really brought this up initially, but were unable to join us. And so, felt that Commission on Gender Equity was the strongest name, and one that is also used elsewhere by other similar commissions who did adopt a more inclusive name. And I believe, well, actually, we reached out to some community members, including Dominique and Cadence from the Triangle Community Center. Ashley talked to them just to kind of get a feel for beyond the commission. How does this resonate within the community? So I don't know if Ashley or Sharon, you have anything to add to that, or Michelle.
I mean, Cadence agreed that it certainly was a more inclusive name and seems to really more cover what our mission is. If anything, Cadence had some, like, our little description, our little paragraph on our official city page. I shared that with Cadence, and they were like, there's a little wording in here that could use work. But they thought the Commission on Gender Equity felt very inclusive to them.
And Ashley, happy to hear those edits that Cadence suggested too for the mission statement when you get a chance. That might be helpful.
Gotcha. I think that I sent it. It was more, I'll have to go back and look at it. It was more that the wording is a little bit clunky, and Cadence had some recommendations that just sort of streamlined it a little bit.
Yeah, I think it was like adding the word people, like it was a small change, but it made a big difference.
Yeah.
So I liked it. You did share it. Yeah.
So is that something we can change at the same time? Does it make sense to do it all at once, Shannon? So,
It feels like we should probably, if we're going, it feels like we should offer up both, like the name change and the description change. It's not really a change, it's just like some wording stuff. But I can make a document that has the old and the new and send it to everyone just to like read, so that you can read a side by side comparison. And so
Was that blurb taken from our bylaws?
what I shared with Cadence was the blurb that's like on our City of Norwalk Boards and Commissions
Okay,
page,
statement, I
which I
think.
assume is from our bylaws.
Right, so then we'd have to just make sure we trigger to change the bylaws, not just the blurb.
Okay,
That's right.
yeah.
Yeah, and Sharon, to answer your question, yeah, if we're gonna do it, let's just do it all at once. Definitely most efficient way.
sounds good. And I want to say thank you to Michelle and Claudia for having that meeting. I totally forgot about it. You guys, I know you guys all met and worked on it so hard. I'm so sorry. Thank you.
It's fine. We almost walked through your backyard to come find you, but that's all right. Okay, that's great. And so, so just to get concrete with the next steps, do we, Michelle, you'll let us know, or you'll give us guidance on timing for the,
Well, I think the
we
next
submit-
step is, it sounds like if there's any other suggested recommendations, then to send them to the Diversification of Boards of Commissions Committee, right? / you, Ashley. I don't know if one person wants to be point on that outside of, I think it's what you, Ashley, Sharon, and Christina are on that committee, right?
Yeah,
The different, and Jasmine.
And Jasmine. Does one person want to be the person that anyone sends recommendations to, or just send it to all 5 of you?
just send it to all of us.
Okay, so, and then if there's no recommendations, and it sounds like there'll be a vote next meeting to recommend to the ordinance committee the name change be the Commission on Gender Equity. And in the meantime, Claudia, yes, I'll get some more timing details and let you all know when the ordinance committee meets and figure out when what a reasonable timeline is for a public hearing.
That's great. Thank you so much. Okay, so the next item of new business is subcommittee for the proposed annual Norwalk Awards ceremony. So we did have that same meeting of Michelle, Ashley, and myself. We talked both about the name and about sort of brainstormed a little bit about an event. As you'll all remember, we had talked about this. Michelle had raised it, and we talked about it and agreed that we would take it offline and come back with some recommendations. And so, in a nutshell, what we are, the vision, if I can use that word, is to do an event that would be sponsored by the commission, our commission, and really one of the goals of it would be to make our commission a bit more visible in the community and to let folks know that we're here and what we do. We tentatively agreed on Friday, March 8th, which is International Women's Day, and it happens to conveniently fall on a Friday. We brainstormed about, possible locations and really thinking about places that would be accessible to a lot of people, kind of a creative space, ideally no cost, but we'll have to figure that out. We have not gotten, we met I don't remember, maybe a month ago, right after the last meeting. So really wanted to just sort of float these ideas to the rest of all of you and see if you felt this was kind of going in the right direction. But some of the ideas were sort of either a restaurant or a Norwalk art space or another kind of open art space. Norwalk Inn was mentioned. We talked about working with community partners, but really having it be kind of a signature event of the Commission on the Status of Women, or whatever our new name is, so that it really, but not to exclude others, but to really, just to kind of have it be, as I said, make make us more visible. And we talked about having awards to really recognize members of the community. So we discussed kind of 2 or 3 awards. We landed on conceptually sort of 2, one that would be youth focused. So to really recognize a young person in Norwalk who is, you know, in some way making their own impact on gender equity or have demonstrated some commitment to this to whatever they're doing. And we will have a nominations process, which I was supposed to come up with some, you know, kind of first pass at that. And I apologize, I've not had the chance to do that by today. But so one would be a youth award and the second one would be for an adult, but really kind of sort of broader community impact or a legacy award. So in some way having a demonstrated impact on our, you know, on the Norwalk community in line with our mission. So there would be, we would have award criteria for each of these, and we would, you know, we talked a little bit about kind of opening the nominations process up to the community. So it's not just, you know, the 10 of us. And, you know, for the youth award, really going into the high schools, for example, and having teachers make nominations or, you know, through churches and community groups and that sort of thing. And same for the adult. And we could do a third, but we kind of thought it would be, you know, maybe a bit more manageable for an inaugural event to do 2. And yeah, so that we would be very transparent once we have a nominations process and what the criteria are. We would make that visible, and we talked a lot about promotion and really trying both of the awards, but also of the event, and through social media, through community partners like NARJ, the Historical Society, really, and try to get folks to come out to it, to support it. And then promotion through like the Hour, Nancy on Norwalk, as I said, social media and that kind of thing. We talked about a cost for, having guests pay, and we want it to be very accessible. So we did, one idea is to have kind of a number of different levels of, you know, as events do, right? But make them all of them fairly modest, right? But even starting at like $10 or $15, and going up a little bit more. All of the funds would go to the commission so that we don't need to get grants for, you know, to apply for tables, to have a table somewhere, or we can do other things, right? You know, maybe down the road, we could actually like have awards that you know, create a scholarship or something like that for a young girl or so. Anyway, okay, Ashley and Michelle, what am I missing?
I think you covered a lot of it. The only other
Yeah.
part outside of getting everyone's feedback is just, I think you might have been looking for one more person to help with the next steps, which I think a promotional goal was like mid-December to early January. So in terms of the timeline for the work and helping to, you were talking about for the restaurants and the art spaces, right? Reaching out to those folks, those vendors, to see if anyone would, you know, cover the whole event for free.
And that would need to be sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
For that part. No, I think that really covered it. I mean, and so we were talking about the nominations, that we felt like having nominations come from the community gives us a lot more options, and it helps, you know, so that it's not just so internal, but also to make it clear that like the final choice will be made by this commission. Like it's not like there's no like public vote or anything. It's like we'll take public nominations from the public, but then we said that we would choose the winners within our commission.
Right.
Based on the guidelines for each award that are those nomination processes that need to be created, so that there's a guideline.
Yeah, thank you both. That's like some key info. So questions, thoughts, feedback? Christina, you look like you want to say something.
Yeah, I moved to my phone, so I have no more glitchy problems, but now I can't go back. Anyway,
one thought is if you'd be interested in NCC, they actually have an open art gallery. So that might be a possible partner and space. I don't know cost wise if there is a cost or if there would be at this point. But I can certainly explore that. I think if we're looking, I'm wondering about a restaurant feel because I think that changes the nature and the dynamic of the event, which may be fine. But if we're looking at sort of an open community inclusive event where we're recognizing members of the community, having it in a more open space versus a restaurant might be viable. But of course you've discussed that. So that's just my 2-cent thoughts, but I'd be happy to look into NCC for you to find out what the possibilities were. I know they have I believe they have a gender equity club. They also have some other activities during that month, obviously for Women's History Month. So they may be interested in also co-sponsoring it potentially. So if the commission would like, I'd be happy to explore that with them just inquire. I have to find out who, since I'm not there at the campus proper, I have to double check who it would be. The other question I have is, can we raise funds as a commission? I wasn't sure since I don't know, are we an arm of the city or not? So I wasn't sure how that would work.
Yeah, the commission's an arm of the city, but they can raise funds.
Okay, great.
So
I think
Christine,
the NCC space sounds like a great option if you don't mind
I
looking
do too.
into
I
that
think it sounds-
possibility.
Yeah, I'm happy to.
I agree 100%. I think it sounds amazing. Yeah. And I agree. I mean, we did bounce around a lot of different ideas, as you can hear, right? And including like some, not bars, but places like I forget the Space Cat, the brewery, right? So a nice big space, but if we're trying to get younger people there too, we don't want to do that in a place that's like featuring alcohol. So I think NCC and art gallery would be amazing there. Thank you for looking into that. Yeah.
And then I'll report back to the smaller committee, and I'm happy to jump into that committee if you'd like. I don't want to overcommit myself, as Sherry will attest. I've flaked out on a couple meetings. I have 3 alarms set, but so as long as I'll dip my toe in the water. Let me check in with NCC and then I'll follow up with you all.
That would be great. And I mean, I do think, I think what would be helpful is, I mean, I think it's going to be hard to pull off for, it's going to be an effort, right? And what we may want to do is sort of get like divide and conquer, right? So if we can nail down the space, then we need to figure out like, we can just sort of have different people rather than having a committee do everything. Maybe one person could take on kind of exploring refreshment, whatever it is, right? I think that may be a better way to do it because everybody on the commission is so, over committed in a multitude of ways. So, but let's start with that, Christine. That would be amazing. And I will, before the next meeting, draft some like general kind of nominations process and draft kind of award criteria for those 2. And then we can have discussion on something. It gives everyone something to react to. And I'll send that to the smaller committee before the meeting to get input. And
I was just gonna say that I'm happy to step in like once it's more like logistics planning. So, food, advertising, all that stuff. I think more suited toward that type of work right now.
that sounds fabulous. Thank you. Are there other thoughts, questions, ideas? I recently heard the term feed forward as opposed to feedback, which I loved. I had never heard that, but any feed forward? I mean, if everyone's sort of in agreement in like that as a concept, then I think we can kind of move it forward and discuss these pieces, right, as we go. Do we like the award, not, those specific awards when there's something for you all to react to, et cetera. So, do we need to vote on this?
I don't think so. It's not an act, there's not an action to be taken,
Okay,
so to speak. That's just my thought. I don't think it's an action oriented. We're
okay,
still working on it.
okay. Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay. If there's nothing else on that, we can move on to old business. And the Community Outreach and Civic Engagement Committee reporting on the farmers market tabling.
I
Ashley.
think I shared the data from the last tabling, although I guess we did table at the police night out since we
I
last
think
met.
you shared that. This might have been my bad. I think you shared that. Yeah.
You
Okay.
gave us the report last time.
Okay, I've added all the data to that, so that's that. We are scheduled for the Sono Farmers Market for Sunday, October 22nd. There's a tab for that on the sign up sheet. Right now, Shannon is signed up from 9:30 to 12, and I'm signed up tentatively from 12 to 2:30. So would love to have some more folks able to come out for that, but that's the next tabling that we have planned.
I meant to sign up. I forgot. I'll do
You've
it.
got time. It's not until October 22nd.
All right. Anything else on tabling? All right. Oh, I think actually, we talked last month about possibly tabling at the Sono 5K. And I think I was reminded from the minutes, Michelle, you were gonna maybe ask the organizer. Did I read that correctly? I don't know who organizes that.
I can ask Rec and Parks, I'm not sure, but the one thing just to point out is the operation, what's it called? The Touch a Truck annual event was just rescheduled for Saturday, October 21st from 9 to 1 p.m. And that's just you might be familiar with that event, but basically it's a lot of families who bring young children who get to see the fire trucks and police trucks and different things like that. So anyway, just an opportunity to table there. Some commissions do, but no pressure at all, because I know you guys have been tabling a lot. So just FYI. But yeah, I can ask Rec and Parks about the Sono 5K.
I think the Touch a Truck is the same weekend that we're already doing the farmers market the next day.
Okay.
So I
Thanks for
don't,
catching.
I only because I saw it when I saw it, I like put it on my radar for my own child. And I'm pretty sure it's Saturday the 21st. So I don't know that we're gonna be able to do both, but
That makes sense. And it looks like oh, never mind. I thought I found the Sono 5K date. I did not.
I think the Sono 5K is, I want to say Sunday, October 1st.
It is, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the first Sunday of October, like you guys said.
So if you get any info on that, Michelle, maybe you can pass it along because that will happen before our next meeting.
Yes.
And maybe
Okay.
Ashley can, let's see if there's is there a charge? What's the story on that? And then we can, if there's not, we can add it to the spreadsheet. Is there a charge for the farmers market, the Sono farmers market? No. Okay.
I don't think so.
Okay. Okay, cool. All right. Norwalk Public Library Partnership.
So we picked our next book, New Kid by Jerry Craft. It's a graphic novel. It's a really great book. And the library has lots of copies of it because Jerry Craft is originally from Norwalk. So we wanted to pick something that the library wasn't going to be able to give out copies of anything this time. That was from the summer because they had a special donation. So we picked a book, we picked a date, Wednesday, November 1st at 6 o'clock. I made some bookmarks and I've already seen them out in the library. And I'm going to try to get a handful of those before we table at the farmer's market. So we could maybe hand them out there. And I can send you all the graphic of it if you want to print any or just share it with anyone who you think might be interested. And I added that, and I'll make sure that Vicky gets it into the library e-blasts as it gets closer. And I put a sign up for that in that same sign up sheet. There's a tab for that too.
That's great. Thank you. Anything else on that? No. Okay, t-shirts. So neither Jasmine nor Yvonne are here. Yvonne did text me before the meeting and she said that she was getting a quote or had gotten a quote. I can't remember now, but she also said if we are changing the name of the commission, we should wait to get t-shirts until after that happens. Otherwise, we're spending money on a obsolete t-shirt, which made sense to me. So if everyone agrees, we can just kind of keep that on simmer until the name change is finalized.
Yeah, Yvonne and I were set up next to the bike walk commission at the police night out. And like they have like I mean, they're a little further along than us. They have like quite a budget, but like they had t-shirts to give out. And I was like, I feel like we might be able to get the money for just our own t-shirts. If we ask the right people, we might be able to get money for that. I also kind of like the design of the bike walk t-shirts. They had like the Norwalk of the new logo. There's say bike Norwalk, but maybe we could have like Norwalk gender equity. I don't know, but something to keep in mind.
Nice. That's great. Or stickers. I feel like we could do, we could afford stickers maybe for next year's tabling season.
They also have, the bike walk folks also have like a nice tablecloth with it, like with their name on it. So they can just like put out their tablecloth and their name is there. So they don't need an extra sign.
Yeah. That's great.
certainly
The
fancy.
wind.
They're too fancy for us.
They
get
they had so many
Goals.
things they were giving away that night. They were very fancy.
It does help get people to your table, right? I noticed that at Pride in the Park, people who had like a lot of merchandise to give away had big crowds around their tables. All right. The last item is under old business diversification of boards and commissions committee, the monthly board and commission vacancy announcement reminder.
You want me to do that, Sharon? Okay. So just a reminder, the committee likes to just point out, and I'm trying to open it on my computer while I'm on my phone, just to point out some vacancies. And this one, in case folks are know anybody that might be of interest with the Fair Housing Advisory Commission. And Michelle, I will just double check, and the vacancy is actually a NEON representative, which is long seceded. That is an organization that does not exist anymore. So I think that that is actually an important commission that we do want to make sure. I mean, they do have, as I can see by identified names, they do have women representation, but I do think that it's an important commission to have a full representation on. So if we could just get clarity on who that individual, what constituency they need to represent, that would be helpful to highlight as an opening. So if we could just follow, if you let me know, I can send a follow-up to the commission.
Okay, sorry about that. Like that was addressed to me. Okay. Yep, we can connect. Sorry.
So if folks want to give thought, the commission is responsible for monitoring private and public housing practices for compatibility with fair housing laws and objectives, identifying problem areas, making recommendations, to the mayor, common council, and housing site development agency, and other appropriate city agencies and commissions. So. And my experience with a lot of our public housing, it is my experience. It is not data informed. I willingly admit that, but my experience is that many of those homes are headed by women in public housing, often multi-generational homes as well. So making sure there's a full commission intact would be helpful. So Michelle, just let us know what constituency that the vacancy would need to represent, or how that would get corrected to not be a neon representative anymore. And we can remind the commission to do that.
Absolutely. Thanks,
Thanks.
Christina.
Sharon, did I miss anything? Oh, you're on mute.
You did.
It never gets old. I just wanted to add, as chair of the commission, if for the next meeting, our committee could go over the menstrual equity law and NPS, and then also discuss our onboarding doc. It's not on our agenda for this time, so we'll have to touch on those at the next meeting. Thanks.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. All right. Is there anything else? Any other business? No. Okay, then I think we are done. So is there a motion to adjourn? Thanks, Ashley. Is there a second? Sharon, thank you. Okay, all in favor of adjourning, raise your hand or say aye. All right, I think it's unanimous. Christina, did I see your hand? Okay. It's unanimous. Okay, thank you, everybody. Really appreciate it. Meeting is adjourned at 7:54, and we'll all talk soon.
Thank you, Claudia. Have a good night.
Thank you. You too.
Thank
Bye.
you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.